Collaborating with other professionals. Supporting people on their journey to competitive, integrated employment. Clayton's story. As a support professional, it is critical that you collaborate with other professionals to help deliver a seamless employment support system for people with disabilities. In this video, we will follow Clayton through his employment journey and see how his employment team worked together to support him in reaching his goals. Note that since Clayton is an adult not in school, school staff won't play a role in his journey. Let's meet Clayton. Clayton is 45 years old and lives in Greater Minnesota. He used to work as a machinist, but stopped working 8 years ago after being diagnosed with schizophrenia. He is on a Community Access for Disability Inclusion, or CADI, waiver, and receives SSDI benefits. He lives on his own and receives Individualized Home Supports, IHS, services through an agency. His sibling, Jordan, who lives about an hour away, is an important person in his life, and they support him in making decisions about his finances, healthcare, and disability services. Recently, Clayton decided he was ready to go back to work. At his semi-annual meeting with his waiver case manager, they discuss what services could support him in this goal. Clayton knows he'd like to work in a machine shop again, and he and Jordan have already spent some time thinking through what would help him be successful in returning to work. His case manager uses the Engage, Plan, Find, Keep framework created by E1MN to determine where Clayton is on his path to employment. Because Clayton knows he wants to work in competitive integrated employment and already has a job goal, his case manager identifies that he is ready to start looking for a job as part of the Find phase. He explains to Clayton that he could apply for job search services through Vocational Rehabilitation Services, VRS. Clayton discusses this with Jordan, and they both agree that sounds like the right fit for him. With Clayton's agreement that he is ready to try finding a job, his case manager reaches out to the E1MN liaison at the local VRS office to ask questions about the referral process. And after getting answers, he puts in the referral for Clayton to start the process of intake and eligibility for VR services. Once Clayton is notified that he is eligible for VR services and meets an open priority of service category, his VRS counselor at the VRS office sets up a meeting with Clayton, Jordan, and his case manager to start creating an employment plan. At this meeting, they also discuss what supports Clayton will likely need to keep his job after VR services end. Clayton shares that he has difficulty managing stress, navigating social interaction, and dealing with conflict. He also has trouble staying on task at times. The team concludes Clayton could try having a job coach alongside him who can offer support if he gets upset and help him stay focused. While in the Find phase, Clayton will also be working with a VRS job placement service provider contracted by VRS to help him create a job placement plan, find employment, and provide initial job supports. Unfortunately, the provider available in Clayton's area is not dually enrolled to provide services through both VRS and waivers, so they won't be able to provide ongoing waiver employment support services, like a job coach, to Clayton once he finds and is stable in a job. Clayton's case manager informs him that he can help him find another provider that can provide waiver employment support services for ongoing job supports. However, he knows there are very few waiver providers in this area, so he starts reaching out to them immediately following the meeting. As it turns out, only one of the provider agencies he contacts say they serve Clayton's area, and they have a long wait list, which means it's unlikely they will have openings in time for Clayton's transition to the Keep phase. The case manager reaches out to let Clayton, Jordan, and his VRS counselor know about this issue, and they decide to pull together another meeting to discuss other options. They also invite the VRS job placement service provider who Clayton has recently started working with. As a group, they start brainstorming options for Clayton to get the support he needs. His case manager asks him whether he would be interested in remote supports as an option. He knows that one of the providers he contacted earlier doesn't typically serve Clayton's area, but in the past they have been willing to serve people located a little further away if the majority of supports can be provided remotely. Clayton considers this idea, but says he wouldn't be comfortable with it. He feels having someone there in person would be best for him. His VRS counselor suggests that finding a job that aligns with his needs might help reduce his need for a job coach. Clayton mentions that a job using manual machines might be more challenging for him, and one that involves using only computer-controlled machines could reduce the need to have a job coach at his side. The job placement service provider also reminds him that once he gets a job, she can help him get accommodations set up, such as a modified work schedule or restructuring certain job duties to further reduce stress. Although these strategies would help, Clayton feels he will still need some job coaching. His case manager mentions that if he or Jordan have a friend or family member who might be interested in being a job coach for him, that person could potentially get hired on by a provider specifically to work with Clayton. Jordan remembers that Clayton's neighbor is looking for part-time work and has some relevant experience. Clayton is excited about the idea. He'd love to get support from someone he already knows and trusts. After the meeting, his case manager contacts a few of the waiver employment service provider agencies he had reached out to previously. One of them says they would be willing to hire someone Clayton knows to work specifically with him. Jordan then reaches out to the neighbor, who says he'd be interested in the role. The case manager is glad that the team's collaborative efforts have led to a possible solution for Clayton's need for a job coach. That said, he's still concerned about the lack of dually enrolled providers in the area who can provide both waiver employment and VRS services. So he reaches out to the VRS job placement provider to suggest they become a dually enrolled provider. He shares that there are many people in that county who are interested in waiver employment services, and the lead agency could provide them with quite a few referrals if the provider would pursue dual enrollment. The provider expresses interest but has some questions, so the case manager connects them with his supervisor. While the process for becoming a dually enrolled provider may take some time, in the long term, it will make a big difference for many people. The provider's willingness to explore the idea is a promising first step toward expanding access in the area. Meanwhile, returning to Clayton's employment journey, with the assurance that a solution for future job support is in motion, Clayton works with his VRS counselor and job placement service provider to search, apply, and interview for jobs that meet his employment goal of returning to work as a machinist. After a few months, Clayton gets a job offer and accepts a position that he's really excited about. During his first few weeks on the job, he gets initial job supports from his job placement service provider. At the same time, Clayton's neighbor goes through the hiring process at the Waiver Employment Services Agency so that he's ready to start as Clayton's job coach once Clayton reaches stability in his new job. To support Clayton's transition to the keep phase, his case manager gets waiver employment support services authorized and works with Clayton's VRS counselor to ensure a smooth transition to these services. The job turns out to be a great fit for Clayton, and he's glad to be working again. Throughout Clayton's journey, his employment team supported him by discussing his work goals and getting him connected to VRS, helping him develop a plan for finding a job and connecting with a service provider, discussing his need for ongoing supports on the job, and collaborating to solve the lack of support services available in his area, helping him apply for, interview, and accept a position, and authorizing services so they were in place when Clayton needed them. Despite the barriers he faced, his team's commitment to collaboration and creative problem-solving meant that he was able to access the support he needed to reach his employment goals.